All right, everyone. So now we're gonna get the panel in. We're finally ready for this step. This is a cap that we had duct taped on there just to try to keep a lot of rainwater out of this pipe. More than likely there's still going to be some in it, but that's not a big deal. It can be. It's just don't want too much of it. First thing we'll have to do, of course, is just extend this pipe just a little bit. Trying to keep our pull string. This is a mule tape. It's pull string for the electrical company to be able to use to pull the wire through later. I made sure I cut these exactly long enough to reach from this one by to this one down here to make sure we got it supported all the way down. These right here are a new version of basically a spring nut. It's plastic instead of got an actual spring behind it. I've never tried these, but I think it'll work a lot better with the 3/4 inch Unistrut. Usually you'll use an actual spring nut. The spring is about this long, and it's designed to go into thicker Unistrut that is 1.5 inches. And if you try to put it into 3/4, sometimes it gets built up. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll cut half the spring off. But I figured I'd give these a shot, see how they work, see if I like it or if I don't. But it seems like it should work just fine, and it's designed for this. Alright, so I think they're alright, but I think they could be better. But they did work. So, I mean, I've had less trouble just doing the option with cutting the spring off. Alright, so this is also a residential meter. This is not a commercial meter, which a lot of people might think because of the size of it. This is used on a lot of really large houses that will have probably 2 separate 200 amp panels. This is not a 400 amp meter, it is a 320 amp meter. So there are factors that you're supposed to derate things at. So even if you got two 200 amp panels, they're still not pulling 400 amps in most cases. So it's usually derated down, and this is the meter that you would use. So it does not come with any lugs. The reason why is because in that case, you're going to be feeding 2 separate panels, quite possibly. So in this case, this is only feeding 1 panel that's 225 amps, which is why we had to go with this, because a standard meter is only rated for 200 amps. So for the extra 25, we had to jump all the way up to what is called a 320. So with that being the case, we have to put in lugs. Again, this is only a single, so we only need single lugs. Otherwise, it basically would look just like this, except the hole would be in the middle, and there'd be 2 separate ones side by side of, you know. So all we're going to do is remove these flanged nuts. And the washer, and install our lugs. Now, the power company's side goes here, here, and here. I'm not going to put these in because sometimes, depending on the power company, they're going to want to use their own special lugs that they have approved. So I'm going to just leave them in here for them to decide if they want to use them or not. Ready for some wire finding. This is a 225 amp panel, and the drawings, usually in a commercial setting, they are going to tell you exactly what to use, which in this case they are. This is a number 2 ground. In most residential situations, you're going to be using a number 4 if you're hooking up to like a gas line. If there's a gas line, you're supposed to use a number 4 bare copper, which is a little bit smaller than this. Visibly on camera, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. If you're only connecting to a ground rod and not connecting to any other items, you only have to use a number 6 bare, which is going to be about half this size at least. But again, on camera, you'd probably never tell the difference. What I'm going to do with each of these, the ground wire is not supposed to ever be cut, your service ground. So it's going to go from the panel inside, come through, basically have to go through this this nut right here, then down through the bottom of the panel and connect to the ground rods with no breaks in it. So there's a little knockout right here that it's designed to go through. So in this case, because it is 225 amps, we are having to run number 4 aught. So there's a difference between number 4 and 4 aught. 4 in the wire, the smaller the number, the larger the diameter of the wire. And 4 aught technically refers to the number of zeros before the number. So it's basically 0.0001 is the size of it. After you get to a certain size, which really is after 4 aught, you start getting into what is called MCM, which is a metric dimension, and then the numbers start going up from there. So like 250 MCM, 500, 750, and all that. But generally, you're not going to be dealing with that size wiring unless you're working on like a large commercial job, like say a Walgreens or something like that. A bank. I've had to use them in a few of those. I've also had to do it at a dentist office. So, but in most cases, you'll never deal with anything that big. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, well, I need to color code these so I can tell when I get from in there to out here which one is which. Technically, because it's single phase, the two hot legs do not matter which one is which, but the neutral does. And the neutral is the same size as your hot legs. So I need to at least get some white tape and mark that one. Now when you're phasing a wire like this, it is not required to run to completely wrap it where it is solid white. Meaning like you don't have to make sure every inch is covered. Like this. You can stripe it. Now that stripe is supposed to completely cover all the way inside the panel. They will usually allow you to stop it like an inch or two before it goes into the fitting, because getting it all the way down can be real difficult unless you do it ahead of time. In this case here, because both sides of this are only about 8 inches apart from each other, I'm simply going to phase it the entire length. So there we have our neutral. I had these pre-cut at the store. Generally when you're dealing with stuff this big, it's not worth it to buy a whole roll, because you're talking thousands of dollars. Unless you do nothing but large jobs like this all the time and have a huge warehouse to store it in, it's better to go with, I mean, I know I've worked for electrical companies that did Walgreens all the time. They did large jobs all the time, but they still always, the large feeders, they always bought by the foot. Knock out for that ground wire. Just so I don't accidentally knock this off while trying to get that whole length through there, I'm going to just remove that screw. broken. And then we still got to connect it to the ground rods, but we'll get to that later. I'll be right back. Alright, went and grabbed my Sawzall. With wires this large, that's the easiest way to cut it. You can get little cutters, but I already have a Sawzall. I have a large pair of loppers that are specifically designed for this, but it's just another tool I'd have to carry around. Now you can obviously wrestle that in there, but it's much easier to simply remove the lug . Now on this one, it's far enough forward that it shouldn't be difficult to get in, so you shouldn't have to take the lug off. This part's done. Now we can put the lid back on. But what I'll do is I will tie this off. Kind of looping it. And I'm going to hang it right here. That way, whenever they dig up the other end, they're not as apt to pull it out. But this is ready. Now we just gotta get the ground rods in. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and do the ground rods. The first one we're usually going to have close to the panel, however there is no code as far as how close. The second ground rod is supposed to be at least 6 feet away from the first. So we're going to go ahead and get started on putting those in. Now I've seen a lot of people use the wrong ground clamps. These are the ground clamps that are used for ground rods. I'll see a lot of times there's a type that if you loosen it, it's like one side flips over and then you can put it back and tighten it up, and then there's a small hole where the wire goes through. That is a it's a pipe clamp. That's not designed for ground rods. This is the kind, it'll be solid, and the wire will go back here in this little V shape and then get pulled against the pipe. So it'll sandwich the wire between the back of the clamp and the ground rod. And again, it's supposed to be unbroken. Primer for now?
I was like, I just didn't know if you needed anything else while I'm out here.
The glue can be put up.
Put it back in the tub?
Yeah.
Or do you want that one in your truck? So we have one in the truck.
Sure.
Yeah.
That shovel can be put up.
Where was that?
That was in the U-Haul up top.
Okay.
But
Why didn't you grab the one from the back of my truck?
yeah.
Camera drill can go up too, right?
Yep.
Where was that bit?
It was just in the truck, in the U-Haul.
Oh, this bit was? Yeah. Do you want to just put it in the camera drill case?
Sure.
Sure. I need a pair of lineman's pliers. Also, huh?
All right, so that's the ground wire done. That could be covered up, except it needs to be left open for the inspector to be able to look at it and see it. So I'll leave the trench open till he comes out, looks at it, and then we'll be able to just bury that entire thing.